The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
All systems go.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, our guest was here not long ago, along with his fellow bandmates from Black Sasquatch, discussing their new release, Sighting. But today, we will get a lot more than just talking about music. We're diving into some real-life experiences with Bigfoot, UFOs, and other high strangeness. All this plus more. Please welcome back a good friend to our show, Black Sasquatch's own Bub. Bub, my friend, welcome back to Let's Find Out.
Hey Diego, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Definitely wanted to have you back on because not long after we had our conversation with your fellow bandmates, before we get into that, Sighting was released not long ago, and I know it's available through Bandcamp. How has that album been going?
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. So we got a lot of good reviews. We got on the Doom charts. The Doom charts are like for the independent artists, a pretty big deal. It's like the top 40 for radio, but for independent rankings. We got some shows coming up, and it's been pretty successful. A lot of people like it. The thing about it is each song is written by a different band member, so every song on the EP is different, which people appreciate. So
Yeah, and I know from our last conversation that we had, each of you really like a different era or type of hard rock or so, and I think kind of you put that all together and you can make some very beautiful music, if you don't mind me saying that. And from the last time I interviewed you guys, did you guys have a show after that, or did you guys take a hiatus again?
no, we're still going with it. It's We got more stuff we're working on. We're actually working on a top secret project for maybe releasing a live EP also. So
Awesome. So come back on the show. We'll talk about that at Top Secret Project. That's what we're all about here on Let's Find Out. But so let's talk about what we're here for today, my friend. Not long after I did the interview, we stayed in touch on Instagram back and forth, messaging each other, and you telling me that
yeah,
you've had your own experiences and sightings of different types of things. So I think if we go back, I think some of your first sightings or experiences were UFO related back when you were young, right?
yeah. The first thing that happened was our family was in the Mormon church, and we were at a church picnic bonfire back in the late 70s, probably like 1978. I was just a kid, and it was in Ohio, in Zanesville, Ohio. And we looked up, and there was a huge light that went across the sky, and the light landed in the woods near us. And everybody started running towards the light to go see what it was, all the parents and kids and everybody. It was just a huge, like a weird white light, like it was glowing kind of light. It wasn't a normal kind of light, and it shined out from behind all the trees, so you could just see the light coming out from all the trees. And our mom held me and my brother back because we was running toward it also, and stopped us from running into the woods. But my dad went into the woods, and a lot of the parents went in there and saw it. Whatever it was, a UFO landing, like a crash site. Um, and if anybody remembers the movie E.T., from when the people were chasing ET in the woods with all the flashlights. That's kind of what the scene looked like. Um, that's as close as I can describe it. But that was my first UFO experience.
Now, at that time, do you recall if this event ever did it ever make the news or anything like that?
No, it was since it was in the 70s. No one really talked about it after it happened. Even the people in the church didn't even bring it up or mention it, which I thought was odd. But everybody just sort of like blocked it out of their minds. But thing is, I think from then on, our family was either like tagged or marked, and we've had constant sightings since then. I've had about total 18 sightings since then of UFOs and weird things with who knows aliens and all kinds of crazy stuff.
So that's a pretty large amount of, well, of experiences. And I know that it could be, we're not just talking about UFOs, so you've had other types. So I'm going to lumping those in with that number.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into anybody, and I'm talking about from that first sighting down the road, that still remembers what happened that day?
No, the last name of the people were the Picklesimers and McNutt was the last names, and we got disorganized. We stopped going to the Mormon church in the 80s and never talked to those people again. And it was never brought up. I've talked to other people whose parents saw a light in the sky in different parts of Ohio that same night, and they were the band Black Moon Cult. One of their members. We were talking at a show. We were playing a show with them, and I was telling him about that, and the guy goes, My dad saw that light, saw that same light, that same time." And we called him on the phone and talked to him about it. So other people in Ohio remember seeing that huge light going across the sky since it was the crashing UFO. Um, and so there's other people that saw it, but like I said back then, people just thought you were nuts, so nobody talked about aliens or UFOs or anything.
No, that's true, because I grew up in the same time, and the only time you would hear about anything like that, it would
Yeah,
be on Unsolved Mysteries, or you might see a random
yeah,
documentary somewhere where somebody talks
yep,
about, if it's not UFOs, it was Loch Ness or Bigfoot. And
yep,
all those things back then were kind of big, but obviously now with the invent of social media, you have internet,
yeah,
these stories can catch fire pretty quick. Now,
yeah.
out of that number of, you said 18 accounts, how soon after was the second experience?
Well, let me get my notes real quick. I tried to write these down. Um, let's see. In 1992, we were in the Utah desert, and we were out in the middle of the desert at night. Um, and I looked up and I saw all these like lights, and they were forming patterns in the skies, like they were going in not circles, but they were going in squares, which I thought was odd. And there was about like four or five of them, and they're all individually going in different square directions. I've never seen lights go in squares in the sky. It was a white light, and there was like four or five of them. I thought that was weird, and I back then I had a disposable camera, and I tried to take pictures, and they didn't come out at all. But that was one of them. Then in the mid '90s, my brother, this is back. He went and got a car, and he hooked up this crazy huge stereo system to his car, and he went and bought like all the boosters and all kinds of things and huge bass speakers. And he was in front of our house, and he was playing like super loud rap music through it with booming bass. It was so loud that all of a sudden he looked in the sky, and there was a UFO sitting right in front of our house that was drawn to the sounds of the bass on the car uh, frequencies or something weird, or it was just checking up on him, and it just sat there for like a couple seconds, and then it took off. He told me about that. Um, that was pretty crazy. Then there's the biggest one was when we went to Salt Fork State Park in about 2014. So we, me and my friend we're going Bigfoot hunting, or what they call it around here, squatching, where you go out and you look for tracks and you look for signs and Bigfoots and stuff. And we go out there, and it's middle of the day. It's like September, and we go on this trail, and we're going back into the woods, and we come across these giant trees that have been um, uprooted and placed in X's in the tree line. So there's three giant X's made out of full size trees, which I don't know who could have done that. You'd have to have like machinery to a crane to pick up these trees. But anyways, the three trees were placed in X's across this trail, and we were there taking photos, and then we look down and we see a track in the mud, and it's a Bigfoot track with the toes and everything. So it's a full footprint in the mud right there. So we're like, "Well, cool, check this out." So we're trying to take pictures of it, and with our iPhones and stuff, and all of a sudden there's two deer come running straight at us on the trail, like they're scared for their lives, and they run off. And I'm like, man, that's weird. Usually deer don't come running towards humans in the middle of the woods. They usually go anywhere else but towards you, you know. And then we look up, and these two people show up on horseback, uh, and a man and a woman. They appear to be human, but when they start talking to us, they have the weirdest kind of speech I've ever heard, where trying to act like they're trying to talk like they're normal, but they weren't, because all the words were like backwards and upside down when they were speaking. Like, "How am doing today? Great." That's how they talked. It was weird. And we looked at each other, me and my friend were just like, "Oh man, we gotta get out of here." But these people kept bugging us and wouldn't let us leave, and kept talking to us. And um, we were just like, "Man, what are the odds of this? These people out in the middle of nowhere on horseback." And the closest I can compare them to would be like Canadians, is how they were acting, kind of. I don't know, just weird.
Kind
Uh,
of okay. I see. In my mind, I kind of have a visual, but let me put this out there for you because I think you mentioned this last time. These two strangers on horseback out in the middle of the woods, and funny way of talking. And I think last time I said that perhaps that's a horseback version of Men in Black.
yeah, that's what when you brought that up, that kind of triggered something in me, and I thought, man, he's probably right, because why else would they be there in that spot, and why would they just show up like that? And right when we were finding these prints in the woods, and at the same time I'm taking photos. I took one photo of them, and it came out normal. They didn't look weird or anything. But I was taking other photos at that site, um, just of random things in the woods. And thing is, when I was taking these photos with my phone, I was taking two of them in a row each time, which will come into play when I got back home. Because after we uh, we left, we finally got out of there. Those people left us, and I was like, man, we got to get out of here. And I got this crazy feeling when we were leaving that something was chasing us, but nothing was chasing us. But I had the feeling that something was chasing me to get out of there. So when we got back home, I started looking at the photos, and on these photos, all these images of things started showing up on these photos. And like some of them, one of them was one of them was an 8 foot tall looking alien thing with a big giant head and two giant eyes and a mouth that was hiding in the woods that we didn't see when we took the photos. Another one was this thing in the woods in a tree that looked like it was made out of smoke that just appeared that wasn't there when we took the photos. That looked like a it looked like a I don't even know what it was. It was like some kind of weird animal. The other one was this black image. It um looked like a not a person, but it looked like a something with two legs and a head and a face that wasn't there when I took the photos. That changed in both photos. The head changed in each photo. Uh, other other ones were these two gray aliens that showed up on the photo that were hiding behind a tree, that were poking their heads out from behind the tree looking at me when we were there. Another one, really weird one, was I took a picture of there was some trees that were snapped off at the base, which is something that Bigfoots do when they are walking through the woods, and they'll snap a tree over a small tree. So I was taking pictures of that, and when I looked at them again, there was a face on the tree that wasn't there when I took it, and it looked like the typical alien face on this tree, um these images. And I was like, wow, what the hell is going on, man? So I started freaking out looking at all these photos, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then it started where from then on, for about a year, I was followed by these aliens that we found at the Salt Fork State Park in Ohio. I can't explain how or why, but I was literally followed for about a year after that, where I was having sightings from somehow from that connection. And I don't know if it goes back to when I saw the landing, where they just follow me all the time, but it seemed to increase activity like crazy after that happened.
Well, let's go back real quick because you're talking about these pictures that you took. And do you still have those?
Yeah, I still got them. I shared some of them with you. Um,
Yeah, I remember those. Those are pretty good pictures, actually.
yeah,
Have you?
you
Yeah.
gotta like zoom in on them, and you gotta zoom in a little bit on some of them, because it seems like whenever you take the photos, they're always either out of range, or they're just in the back where you can see them barely. So somehow they know that you're taking these photos. It's weird, and they can almost sense what's going to happen, where they're not really like up front, they're in the back. Yeah, but I saved them all, and I've got just probably like 10 or 12 photos where they're showing up on the iPhone. um yeah,
All right. So,
it's
have you shared them with anybody other than me? Because I know I didn't share them with anybody, and what I saw in those pictures, looking at it, you can pretty much tell what you're seeing. And I think that you kept sending
yeah.
me a few, and I'm like, hey, you missed one here on the right. But have you sent them to anybody else but me? Just so you can
No,
get a second or a third opinion.
no, not really. I mean, I've shown to my bandmates and friends and stuff, but other than that, no, I really haven't. Um, because I started freaking out when they were starting to follow me everywhere, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. I didn't know what to do. Uh, but let, let me go on to some other things that happened after that. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
um, well, the biggest one was we got we got back here, and me and my wife were going to another state park, which is weird with all these state parks. I think there's some kind of connection, but we went to a different state park that's near our house, and we were walking our dog. This is in the middle of the day, and I was walking. It was a Dillon State Park at the beach, and I was walking up a road, just minding my own business, and all of a sudden I look up, and there's a spacecraft above my head, and it's the weird thing about it is all of the spacecraft is invisible except for one corner of the spacecraft above my head. It was about 10 feet above my head. And the part I could see was like a battleship gray color corner of this spaceship. And the thing, as soon as I looked up and saw it, it took off, and I could actually hear the sound of the of it accelerating and making like a swoosh sound, like a rocket would make when it took off. And I'm like, holy crap, what is going on? And it was, so the whole thing was cloaked except for the corner of the spacecraft that was right above my head. And it must have known I looked up and saw it, and then it took off and disappeared, completely disappeared, 100%. Um, but that was pretty scary. I was like, wow, what the hell is going on? Um, but there's something going on with the state park connection, because that was another state park that's near our house. Um, then it started happening where we got a new puppy, and I was out walking the dog, and it started getting me up at midnight having to use the bathroom. So I started going outside with the dog, and I started looking up in the sky, and these certain stars that I thought were stars that I was looking up at, they were just a regular white light. They started going into patterns above my head. Some of them were swirling like in circles. Other ones were just doing random patterns, like the square thing again, where they were just going into a weird looking um, thing, not normal for it wasn't normal stars. But this started happening over a course of 6 months. From just every time I'd go outside, something would happen with these stars above my head. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And it got to the point where I just stopped looking up because they were happening. It was happening so much.
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, what the hell is going on? It was right above our house. And then one time I took the dog out, and I was walking, and I looked in the back of the house, and there was an actual spaceship taking off in in the back of our house, flying off like a plane would do. And that was like, I was like, wow, what the hell is going on? It was just crazy. Then there was another time where I looked out over our house looks over a lake in the same state park, and it was there was a there was some kind of light over the lake that was a white light that looked like a star pattern over the lake that was moving very slowly over the lake, and it was about the size of a football field. It was huge. Um, and I sat there and looked at it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I went in to go get my phone because it was midnight, and I came out to get my phone, and the thing was gone. Of course, every time I try to get a photo or a video of any of this stuff, it would always be gone, or it would disappear. Um, So I don't know.
Well, now that you have all these pictures, what is your plan to do with them?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Some people don't believe you, whether you have them or not. But I know they're real photos, and I didn't take them. I didn't Photoshop them or anything, and I don't know. And then another sighting was the Fourth of July, the year after. I was coming home from Fourth of July fireworks, and I was in front of the college here, and I was driving my truck, and I saw something over the road, right about 12 feet over the road. There was a light, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" So I pull over in the road, and I look up, and it's a face. It's a face made out of light, and I was like, "What in the world is this?" I can't explain it. It was hovering over the road, almost like a modern day drone would do, but it wasn't a drone. It was a it was a face face on a flying thing hovering over the road in complete silence. It made no noise, and I pulled over, and I was like, "What in the hell is this?" I put my window down. And I just sat there and looked at it with my face and stared at it for about, like, it seemed like 30 seconds. And there was nobody else on the road, just me. And
I
then
was going to ask you that. Yeah, were you the only person? But you answered
yeah,
it.
it's the only person. All of a sudden, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. Like I couldn't. It had it like it all of a sudden just had me in a state where I couldn't do anything, and it was crazy. I was like, wow. Then it just took off, and it didn't make any noise. It just took off. The face was like flashing too. It wasn't. It was like the eyes, the mouth, the nose, uh, all in light, all made out of lights, and it just sat there hovering over the road, and it was like hypnotizing me or something. I can't explain it.
Possibly. Well, let me follow up with this question with that face. Was it more human-like face, or did it look more like a classic alien face? Because if you mentioned nose, and that can go either way.
It was like a face drawn with lights. So it wasn't human or alien. It was just plain, like someone just made it out of light little light bulbs. So it was just kind of like a generic face thing, but I was like, what in the hell is going on here, man? I don't know. That was like the Fourth of July the year afterwards. So it'd been about a year. Um, and I don't know. I just had about enough. I was like, maybe I need to go back to that site to see if I can reset this or something. I told myself I would never go back to that Salt Fork area where all this happened, but I did eventually go back. And then when I went back, nothing happened. Didn't see anything. There'd been a giant tree was knocked across the trail, so you couldn't get back there as easily. But we went back there, and of course, nothing happened. Had all my cameras and phones and videos, everything ready. Nothing. Didn't see anything. But after all that, it finally stopped. So um, I haven't had a sighting since then. So that was good.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you your last experience was, but anything within the last couple years. So that was the last time, right?
Yeah, that's. I don't want to have any more sightings. I know a lot of people were always like, "Oh man, I want to see a UFO. I want to see a UFO." But when you see so many of them, I got to the point where I didn't want to see them, and I stopped looking up in the sky. I got because I was seeing so many of them. I got to the point where I just quit looking up. I didn't want to see them anymore. Walking the dog.
Yeah, with that being said, I know a lot of these things can be life changing.
Yeah.
And how did it affect you? Otherwise, other than you're tired of seeing them, you don't want to look up anymore. But anything change in your life after that or during this?
Well, I don't. It was just like something I just started dealing with because it was happening so many times. I just was like, man, I wish they would just leave me alone and quit bug. I wish I wouldn't see these things anymore, but it kept happening so much. I just started trying to block it out of my mind, stop thinking about it. But um, yeah, it did change me. But I don't know. Coming from Appalachia, you just learn how to deal with things and move on, and you know it's a constant struggle living here because everyone's poor and poverty. But um, I just try to just take it one day at a time and hope they don't return and try to kidnap me or something. I don't know. That's another thing I was scared of, was that they could just take me at any time and I'd be gone. Especially in the state parks. There's been a lot of people that just disappeared in these state parks.
Yes, and that could be attributed to a lot of different reasons as to why. And it's interesting because I've heard a lot of these stories, and that some of these bodies wind up being found in places or in ways they shouldn't even be found. Because no animal would do anything like that. I mean, there's no blood, no bite marks or anything. It's
Yeah,
just one day they're here, and then people search for them. Next thing you know, they wind up somewhere else. It's like, how did this thing get here?
yeah. I think it's the UFOs, and I don't know why or how, but it's all in these state parks. Connection. It's weird. I don't know.
Maybe those two horse riders did you a favor that day, just trying to scare you off. They don't come in here.
Yeah, it worked. I did take a picture of them, so I have it on my phone. But
Well, I've got to see these pictures.
they just look normal. You can't tell. There's nothing in the photos that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were
But
like the reject Men in Black. They're not the top tier.
they still made the team. They
Yeah,
still
they made the team, but they weren't the all stars.
and I know I keep bringing up the pictures. And I know that you haven't shared them with anybody. But what is your plan with them down the road? Do you think maybe it
um,
would be time because I would hate for you to share these down the road in a way that the trail grows cold and nobody can actually,
yeah, I think
you know.
maybe one of these days. I'm an artist too, so I thought maybe one of these days I'd get them all printed out on and frame them all and do an art exhibit. Like, you know, hey, no one believes me. Here's all my photos. Check these out, and have a because I'm part of an art club here in town. So, and every once in a while, we get to have a display for the first Fridays. I could do like a first Friday theme.
I mean, that could be a new thing, man. Not only musician
Yeah,
but also artist. Well,
yeah,
let me ask this part then, because with all your experiences with these sightings, it might be more than 18. You don't know because sometimes you lose count.
yeah. I
And
lost track.
we're not only talking about UFO experiences. You also talk about Bigfoot or Sasquatch experiences.
Yeah, there's I know one night we came home from a gig and we played in Canton, Ohio. We came back. It's about a 3 hour drive, and we got home. I got home about 3 in the morning to my house, and we live right across from the state park. And all of a sudden, I heard loud wood knockings and coming out from the state park side, and it was like boonk, 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 like that, where they're hitting a log against a tree, and it's a distinct sound, and you know it when you hear it. And I never heard it again. I've never heard it before, but it was coming from that state park. And I know there's a couple Bigfoots over there because we had a friend set up a trail cam, and he captured an image of this Bigfoot that's over. And I think I sent you that photo too, off the trail cam. This thing's got like crazy looking eyes. It looks like an ape. Its arms are super long. It's looked like it was about 8 foot tall. So I know there's Bigfoots around this area, and there's been a couple sightings that have been reported for this state park also. But Salt Fork State Park is the #1 sighting in the state of Ohio for the Bigfoots. Um, I know one time we were there fishing in the middle of the day, and all of a sudden a tree just got knocked down behind us where we were fishing, and it was super loud. It was like I've never heard a tree get knocked over like that in the woods. The whole thing crashed down. It was like, wow, what the hell's that? I was like, man, that's a tree crashing down. We didn't catch anything, but it was kind of in the same area where we had all these other sightings. Um, but anybody that wants to Google Salt Fork State Park in Ohio and look up the Bigfoot sightings, it's crazy. In the
Have you
area
ever?
we live in is called the Sasquatch Triangle because there's so many sightings in our area.
Well, you ever thought about moving? So that way you don't have to deal with these things anymore.
I thought about it, but it's just part of living here, I guess. You get used to it, and it I don't know. It kind of freaks you out, but then again, you're just like, oh well. When you go through so much of this crap, it doesn't bother you anymore.
Well, I guess a lot of this inspired some of the songs or the name for your band, Black Sasquatch.
Yeah, it does. It's all connected. Um, we got another song. It's called "We Are Not Alone." It's on our new EP. That's connected to it also. About the aliens and the UFO, and there's probably a connection between them both. Like when there's this UFO sighting, all of a sudden the Bigfoot sightings increase. The reports.
Yeah, and I had a theory about that is because kind of like here in my neighborhood, when something happens, people come out and they're nosy. I'm thinking if there's some sort of UFO activity in the woods or a landing of some sort, I'm thinking a Sasquatch might just come out to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah, or he's part of something to do with the UFO. I don't know. They're I think they're invisible. People can't see them all the time. I think they're in a different realm. Is why, because that explains why you don't find any dead ones ever. That would explain why you can't see them all the time. They have to allow you to see them. I think is how it works. 'Cause that's what the Native Americans would say, and all the tribes from around here. All the tribes had different names for Bigfoots. All the different tribes had a name for them. So it makes sense that they were here first in the woods, but you can't see them all the time, and I don't. That would explain a lot of why they're, sort of how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth to that because there are a lot of stories in those, and we call it folklore, but we know a lot of these are come from actual encounters or even some of these Native American tribe members. They live amongst them as well. There's some
Yeah,
stories about that as well. So we can't discount it because it was a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously not, because now you've experienced these things as well. So now going forward, are you open to? I know you came on the show, but are you going to come out one day in the open and just say, just report these, get these out, get this story out there, get these pictures out there? And I know I keep going back to the pictures, but I think this is kind of important. You have all this information. Maybe it might need to be shared.
Yeah, maybe I should do a book, I don't know. I thought about that.
Absolutely.
I could, cuz now you can do books on Amazon, and I could use the photos in the book. It'd be pretty cool, and talk about all the sightings I've had and stuff, and I think people would probably enjoy that. But the thing is, if anybody else out there tries to do this, if they go out Bigfooting or whatever, go to the state park, make sure you're with someone, make sure you tell people where you're going before you go and when you're going to come back, because a lot of people disappear at these parks. Um, so have your phone charged, have a backup battery, take food and water with you. Um, when you go into the woods, and if you see anything out of the blue, take 2 photos of it in a row with your phone. Because I noticed when I take 2 photos in a row and these things showed up, they were doing different things in each frame. So you can look back and say, "Wow, this thing is moving from one photo to the next." That's my recommendation.
No, it's good advice for sure. Now, would you say maybe bring a firearm also?
No, I wouldn't go that far. If they wanted to do something to you, they could do. You wouldn't be able to do anything with a firearm, I don't think. I don't know. I think the big thing is the just having someone with you. And I wouldn't go at night. There's no way.
Hell no. There's far more danger at night because you
Yeah,
can't see what's coming at you.
yeah. I'd rather do. We just did ours in the middle of the day, and that was scary enough. Especially with those weirdos showing up on my horsebacks.
Listen, man, I get it. I get it. And the woods is not a place to play around. You got to know what you're doing, and it's their territory, not yours.
Yeah. Yep. It's I don't know. I don't think we as humans think we know everything going on in the universe and in the world, but we really don't. There's things going on that we don't know about. That some things we're not smart enough to figure out anyway. So you know, just keep that in mind. We people think they know. Whoa, I'm smart. I know everything. You don't know anything as far as the universe and other things go. Uh, we can't explain all these UFO sightings and Bigfoots and stuff. And I don't know. It's people think they. Oh yeah, I'm an expert on it, but really you're not.
Yeah, nobody's an expert. Some people are more experienced than others, but we'll never know everything there is to know about not only UFOs and Bigfoot, but then we talk about supernatural or paranormal.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can go on and on, but I do know something that sighting is available on Bandcamp. Pretty soon, you're working on a top secret project of possibly a new album coming out later this year or next year. So, what are your plans, man? From today, you gonna start writing some new songs? Are you gonna maybe go squatching again or not?
I don't know. Th- last time we went, it was. I don't know. I didn't want to do it again after all that, and it's fun. It's fun to find tracks and stuff like that, but I don't know. Me and my squatching days are over. It is fun though.
Well, I don't blame you, man. It's a lot more safe going out there and recording some of the awesome songs that you do. And Bub, I really appreciate being on the show and coming back to Let's Find Out to share your stories. And thank you, by the way, also for sending me those pictures because,
Yeah, no problem.
man, I'm telling you, you got something there. When the time comes that you're going to disclose it or write the book, come back on the show. We'll talk about it. And, man, we'll share with the world.
Yeah, cool. I got more of them too. Those are just the ones I could find quickly on my phone because they're from 10 years ago. So, but yeah, it's when you actually get the photographic evidence and you're like, wow, no one's going to believe me. But when you have photos, maybe sometimes they're like, oh, maybe he isn't crazy. Maybe he is seeing these things.
Yeah, nobody thinks you're crazy, brother. I've seen the pictures, and it's 100% legit. And
Yeah, it's crazy.
yes, sir. And thanks again for being on the show. And good luck out there, man. And stay safe. Don't go in the woods.
Man. Thanks for having me on. It's a great show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.